but let me address it in terms of a myth. In discussing Cuba, there are two critiques of the administration's policy to date. Simply stated, critics contend that we have either done too much or not nearly enough. Some claim the administration has not sufficiently broken from the past, while others accuse the administration of propping up a repressive Cuban regime. Neither is correct. It is important to recognize that the president has done exactly what he promised he would do with regard to the Cuba policy during the presidential campaign. He has removed restrictions on family visits and remittances. He has sought to engage on issues of mutual interest, such as migration and direct postal service. He has sought to increase the flow of information to and from and among the Cuban people. And he has stood up in defense of the basic human political rights of the Cuban people in denouncing the tragic death of Orlando Zapata Tamayo and renewing his call for the unconditional release of political prisoners. In the wake of the tragic earthquake in Haiti, the United States has also cooperated with Cuba to expedite the arrival of critical supplies to victims and survivors of the worst natural disaster in modern history in the Western Hemisphere. In sum, the promises that President Obama has fulfilled are significant because they create opportunities for relationship building and exchange and demonstrate that we are sincere in our openness and desire to establish a new history or a new chapter in U.S.-Cuba relations. As the President said, we will always extend our hand. The administration cannot be blamed, however, for those who project more onto the President than what was in fact promised. Of course, and as the President has observed, a fundamental change in U.S.-Cuba relationship requires action and goodwill from both sides. We have seen very little goodwill from the Cuban authorities and even less positive action. As Secretary of State recently noted, the Cuban authorities remain intransigent. But despite this intransigence, U.S. policy will remain focused on reaching out to the Cuban people in support of their desire to freely determine their future, and will remain committed to advancing U.S. national interests. Thus, we will push forward constantly to break old paradigms by promoting people-to-people bonds. The risk that such bonds somehow aid Cuban authorities, in my view, is negligible. I sincerely believe we have developed an appropriately cautious approach that strikes the right balance between moving our relationship with Cuba in a positive direction while simultaneously maintaining pressure on the government to allow Cuban people to truly live free. To conclude, of course, it does strike me that in preparing for the speech, I was able to identify so many issues that were in need of clarification. And again, thank you, Andy and Jaime, for this opportunity. International relations are complicated. I learned that in graduate school here. And misunderstandings are inevitable, whether sincere or strategic in nature. In addition, misinformation, distortions, lies frequently seem to outpace truth and fact. That's the reality of serving in government. The only solution is to remain vigilant in setting the record straight. I am here tonight in this spirit to be proactive in disseminating our message, our record as widely as possible, and I am committed to that effort. I hope I've been somewhat successful and the audience has found my remarks useful. I want to thank you again, and I look forward to your questions, comments, and concerns. Thank you.